Hi all, I welcome all of you to my lecture series videos regarding the subject manufacturing process PBMET 304. See, this subject is for S3 third semester mechanical engineering students in KTU, APJ Abdul Kalam Kerala Technological University. See, in this video, this is the first video. In this video I am going to discuss about what are the contents that we have to study in module 1. The syllabus consists 4 modules. This is purely a core subject. So in this video I am going to discuss about what are the main contents in the module 1. See, module 1 completely regarding the casting process. So first heading, that is general classification of manufacturing process. See, what are the general classification of manufacturing process? See, the entire manufacturing process have a definition, and I will detailedly explain the definition in the next class onwards. So first topic is general classification of manufacturing process. See, this classification is based upon, you can see, this classification is based upon recrystallization temperature. You have already studied about recrystallization temperature in S2 semester material science subject. So based on the recrystallization temperature, the manufacturing process are classified into two types. That is, first one hot working process and second one is cold working process. Cold working process and hot working process. These are two classification of manufacturing process based upon the recrystallization temperature. So the classification of manufacturing process means it is based upon the recrystallization temperature. Okay. The next one is we are going to casting process. See, in this process, first of all we are discussing about all the concepts regarding sand casting process. Okay. So in casting process we have to study sand casting. So what are the main parts of the sand casting mold? That's a very important one. What are the main parts in the sand casting mold? We have cope and track, mold cavity and mold core, flask, alignment pin, gating system, riser, chillers, and what are the steps for making a sand casting process? With a block diagram you have to study. Okay, so this is the starting of sand casting process. Then characteristic of sand. So characteristic of sand means we have a sand casting mold always made by sand. So we are discussing, we have to study about what is the different types of molding sand and its classification. We have different classification of molding sand, and also what are the characteristic of the molding sand. So characteristic of molding sand means after studying different types of molding sand, we have to study the characteristic of molding sand. Characteristic of molding sand include refractiveness, permeability, collapsibility, flowability, and cohesiveness. We have to study what is the meaning of all these words, refractiveness, regarding sand which is used in the sand casting process. So that is the meaning of characteristic of sand casting mold, sand which is used in sand casting mold. Next one is pattern. That's very important topic, pattern. In pattern, we have to discuss about what are the different classification of pattern. We have different types of pattern which is used for making sand casting mold. So we have discussing with the figures. So we have different types of patterns. See, all these are different types of pattern which is used for making sand casting mold. Almost 10 types of patterns will be there. Next one is pattern allowance. So in the In pattern, we have to study pattern, material, pattern allowance, pattern types. So pattern allowance, we have five type of allowance that we are providing for pattern that you have to study. Okay. Then next one is regarding pattern, you have to study the pattern material. What are the material which are commonly used for making patterns? Commonly wood, metals, polystyrene, etc. will be used. Okay. After pattern, that's the design of patterns. Okay. So design of pattern, we have to discuss types of pattern, pattern allowance, pattern material, etc. Then core. See in core means mold core. See core is a very important topic. Core, we are going to discuss about what's the importance of core, mold core, what is the characteristic of a cold core sand. Core sand means the sand which is used for making core in the sand casting mold. Then what are different types of core? We have different types of core, almost five types of core: horizontal core, vertical core, balanced core, hanging core, and drop core. So all these type of core you should be studied with a figure. Okay. Then chaplets. So chaplets means we have core print and also we have chaplets. Core print and chaplets. That's necessary elements in the case of a sand casting mold. Okay. So next one is elements of gating system. You can see that elements of gate is a very important topic. Of gating system. See, every sand casting mold have a gating system. And what are the elements in the gating system? See, we have different types of elements in the gating system: pouring cup, sprue, runner, gates, riser. So you have to detailedly study about all these elements. So this is a figure of gating system. In that gating system, you have deeply studied about the riser type, function, regarding the concept of location of riser, etc., and chillers, classification of chillers, etc. So this is a figure of a sand casting mold. Then some problems, equations regarding gating system, that is choke area, and what is the equation of choke area. It's very important in the case of design of sand casting mold. And gating ratio, we have unpressurized and pressurized gating systems, etc. All these are comes under the design of gating system. Next one is solidification of metal. See, in this topic you have to study solidification of pure metal and alloy. See, there is a graph will be there for studying solidification of pure metal and alloy. I think you have already studied that graph in material science, how a pure metal will be solidifying and how a alloy will be solidified. Okay. So after that you have carnivorous rule. This is very important and there will be related to problems will be the carnivorous rule. So carnivorous rule, which is used to determine the time required for solidification of a casting. So there is some equation related to that equation. There is some problems will be there. How we are designing what is a riser and how we are determining the solidification time of a casting. See, this is the solidification of pure metal and alloy graph. I think you have already studied in the material science. And we have problems related to carnivorous rule or solidification time. Okay. Then we have chiller numerical problems, defects in casting. So defects in casting means we have various types of defects will be there in a casting process. So you have to study all the types of defects in casting process. So this is the casting defect. We have a large classification of casting defect. It's a very important topic, defects in casting. You have to understand all the types of defects in a casting process. So these are the main topics in casting process. It's a very important section. There will be some question will be in this part. Next one is special casting process. See, entire casting is divided into two types. That is expendable mold casting process and permanent mold casting process. This sand casting is a expendable mold casting process. Why it is known as expendable mold casting process is, in sand casting, the entire mold is breaking and the product is taken outside. But in permanent mold casting process, that is continuously used for several number of casting. So sand casting, we have already discussed what are the topic we are going to study in sand casting. Next one, we have special casting process, that is shell mold casting, precision investment casting, die casting, centrifugal casting, continuous casting and skews casting. In every casting process, you have to study the step-by-step process, advantage, disadvantage and application. So we have the entire casting process is divided into expendable mold casting and permanent mold casting process. So expendable mold casting process, we have a series of classification. Permanent mold casting process also we have a series of classification. Then first of all, shell mold casting process. In shell mold casting process, we have a different steps. You have to study all the steps with the figure, and also you have to study the advantage, disadvantage and application. Next one is precision investment casting process. It also consists different steps. You have to study the step by step with the figure, and also you have to study the advantage and disadvantage and application. See, this shell mold casting process, investment casting process are all expendable mold casting process. The entire mold should be break after the casting has to be taken outside. And we have a die casting process. That's a very important one, die casting process. Die casting process, we have to study two type of die casting process, cold chamber die casting process and hot chamber die casting process. Die casting process is commonly used in automobile application, widely used in automobile application. That's the importance of die casting process. After die casting process, you have to study centrifugal casting process. In centrifugal casting process, we have to study three casting process. First one, true centrifugal casting. Second one, semi-centrifugal casting. And third one, centrifuge casting. And after that, continuous casting process. See, this continuous casting process is very important. It have wide industrial application. For making TMT bars, first billet is formed by continuous casting process. This is a figure of continuous casting process. Next one is skews casting process. The last one, as per syllabus, is the skews casting process. So this is a skews casting process. So these are the special casting process that you have to study in the first module. So we have sand casting, shell mold casting, precision investment casting, die casting, centrifugal casting, continuous casting and skews casting. Last topic is powder metallurgy. So that's also a manufacturing technique, powder metallurgy. See, in powder metallurgy, you have to study how a powder will be producing. The powders are commonly used for metal is in the form of powder. How we can produce the powder by using several methods will be the producing powder. And what is the characteristic of powder and how it will be mixing, what are the mixing technique and compaction method and sintering. So this is a very small topic, almost 10% when we are comparing to entire topics. But there will be chance that question will be asking in this area from you for university examination. But you don't study deeply in the powder metallurgy. You have to study only what are different techniques in powder production, powder characteristic, mixing, compaction method and sintering. So these are the topics in the first module of manufacturing process. See, this subject is a figure oriented subject. So figure have very important. When you are studying the topic, you have to study this figure also. Based on the figure, you have to explain the process or any other thing. Figure have equally important explanation when comparing to explanation. So next class onward we can start the module 1 and you can follow my videos. Okay, thank you.